Welcome to the series where I test out money-making methods from the OSRS Wiki. Feel free to leave suggestions on which moneymaker you'd like to see next. And also, if you didn't already know, I have a nice playlist that I've created that has all of the previous moneymakers that I've already tried, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. With that being said, let's get into the video. So for today's video, I thought we'd go ahead and do one of the classic moneymakers from way back in the day, which is killing the King Black Dragon. Now, I was surprised to see that the profit said that it was only around 60k, which was pretty crazy to me, but then again, I haven't killed the King Black Dragon in a while. Still, I think it's an interesting choice for a moneymaker because I'm pretty sure that we can get more than 20 kills an hour, so that's why I decided to do this. And when I do decide to make a longer video on this, such as going for 1000 kills of the King Black Dragon, I won't really be too concerned with the loot. I think it'll be more of a chance at the pet that will get me excited, so yeah, we'll see about that. In previous videos where I use a twisted bow to try out moneymakers, people have expressed their opinion that they don't really like seeing that because not everybody has access to it, which is understandable. So for this video, I'll be using a Dragon Hunter Lance, which is far less expensive. One thing that actually surprised me during this video was the price of the Treasonous Ring. I can't remember how long ago it was that I bought one or even saw one in the GE, but I could have sworn that these rings were around 2 mil at one point, maybe 1 mil at least, and to see it that low in price was pretty surprising. As for the rest of the gear setup, I just went with what the wiki had on there. The 3 most expensive items that I'm bringing is of course the Dragon Hunter Lance, the Dragonfire Shield, the Amulet of Torture, and the protect item is going to be for the ring, the Treasonous Ring, which really isn't worth that much anymore, but still, it's still a decent setup. For the body and legs, I am taking Proselyte for the prayer bonus. I'm also taking the Arty Cape 4 for the stab bonus and prayer bonus. And then of course I am using the Barrow's Gloves and Rune Boots. As for the prayer slot, I have the Rada's Blessing 4 in there just for some extra prayer bonus. And then for the helm, I have the Helm of Nate's Knot. As for what the risk is in case we do get PK'd in the wilderness and die, I'll go ahead and show that right now. Looks like we are risking around 300k if we do fall, but I mean most of this is probably in food and potions that you will most likely use if you are getting attacked. As for some precautions before we step into the wilderness, I am setting my quick praise to protect from melee and piety, and also I'm setting the player attack options to either always right click or hidden, that way you don't accidentally skull while you're in the wilderness. The way that I will be getting to the KBD lair is I'll be using the obelisk to teleport to level 44 wilderness. There's a bunch of other ways that you can get to KBD's lair, but I found that this works best for me. I encounter less PKers whenever I use the obelisk instead of the burning amulet teleport. The burning amulet teleport is a very popular PK spot up here in the 40s, so I like using the obelisk. But just in case you were interested, I'll throw up an image of other possible teleports to get you to the KBD's lair. As you can see on the map, the yellow path is the path that we are taking through the obelisk. The orange one that is right next to it is the Gorok teleport, and the blue one is the burning amulet teleport, which is also good, but just beware of PKers when using that one. The other paths I really wouldn't worry about, especially the green one. That's a very far run. You're better off just buying a burning amulet. And with that being said, we can finally get into the 1 hour of killing the King Black Dragon. Now, the method that I used to kill the King Black Dragon was just to go into the lair, kill him as many times as possible until I ran out of food or prayer, and then teleport to my house to restore my stats, and then go to Edgeville to bank all of the loot, get more supplies, and then repeat the process. There is another method that you can do if you are planning on farming this boss long term, which is to take food into the lair and suicide. By doing that, your food will stay on the ground for 1 hour, and then you'll have pretty much an endless supply of food depending on how many times you suicide in the KBD lair. But since we were only testing this out for 1 hour, I decided that that method wasn't really worth it in this case. I did state earlier that my quick praise were piety and protect from melee. Since we are in melee distance, even if I was using a Dragon Hunter crossbow and I was ranging the KBD, I would still use protect from melee and stand within melee range. This is so that we can get KBD to use his melee attack more often, and if he does use it, it's much better than him using his special Dragonfire attacks, which will inflict damage. As far as Dragonfire protection goes, with our DFS and the extended Dragonfire, we are able to protect from KBD's Dragonfire attacks. His special Dragonfire attacks will still do damage, however. I think it's capped at around 10 damage, and you will still be affected by his stat reducing Dragonfire attacks. So that is why we bring the Super Restores instead of regular Prayer Potions. Also, it is important not to forget the Antidote, because KBD does have a attack that will poison you. And with this setup, I found that I didn't need 4 doses of the Antidote and Anti-Fire. You could probably get away with just bringing 2 dose potions. That way you don't have to drop them on the ground like I did throughout this video. Same thing with the Divine Super Combat Potions. You could probably get away with bringing 2 or maybe 3 dose potions instead. And as for teleporting home, I actually went and bought a Construction Cape instead of using my Max Cape normally, because the Max Cape would be a pretty expensive item, and since I was already carrying 4 very expensive items, I didn't want to risk any more than I had to. So for 99k, I was able to buy the Construction Cape, which gives me unlimited teleports to my house, and then instead of banking at the Crafting Guild like I normally do, I just went to Edgeville. As for the loot that KBD drops, he drops a great variety of things, and will really only be picking up the stuff that has a good value. So anything that is less than a black dragon hide will most likely be leaving on the ground. Now this does mean that I will be burying the dragon bones, which might be painful to watch by some, but really I was just going for the most kills that I can get in this 1 hour. I will also at the end of this video be showing the total loot that we got from KBD, so you'll be able to see how much money you can actually make if you pick up every single drop. I know earlier I was talking about how you can bring lower doses of the Antidote, Anti-Fire, and Super Combat Potion. You could probably do the same thing with the Super Restores, maybe bring only 3 or 2, depending on how many you actually use per trip. With this setup, I often found myself banking with 2 restores left, so you might want to lower the amount of Super Restores you bring, depending on your setup. Just find what works best for you. And this is especially true if you decide to Pray Flick the boss, which I did not do in this video, just because I was going for maximum AFK. This boss is surprisingly very chill. There's really not much to it. When you take damage, you eat a shark. When he reduces your stats with his Dragonfire attack, you take a sip of the Super Restore. So normally I take sips of Super Restore whenever the prayer icon is glowing, which shows me that I will get the maximum amount of prayer points back. But for this method, I actually let the prayer points get down pretty low, because if he were to reduce my stats after I had just restored to full prayer points, I would essentially be wasting a sip of the Super Restore for no prayer points at all. And that pretty much covers all of the mechanics, I guess you could call them, that KBD has. Again, it's a very AFK boss. I mean, getting here is kind of dangerous, but once you're in here, it's pretty chill. And with that being said, we have all of the loot from the 1 hour in our inventory that we managed to pick up, and it is valued at around 704,000 GP. We can now go ahead and go to the GE to sell all of our loot, and I'll be putting it in there for slightly under the market price, just so we can sell all of it quickly. And as I stated earlier in the video, here is the loot that you can expect to get if you were to pick up every single drop that KBD drops. As you can see, it's a pretty big difference from our 704k that we saw in our price check. This of course was because we weren't able to pick up all of the black dragon hide, and because we also buried all of the bones. And as we can see here, we still managed to get our 704k even though we sold a lot of the items at under market price. We can now go ahead and calculate the cost of supplies and see how much money we actually made from this 1 hour of killing KBD. So if we add up all the money that we spent on supplies, we get 317,306 GP. We subtract that from the total amount of money that we made, which was 704,641 GP. We get a grand total profit of 387,335 GP. It's a pretty low amount compared to all the other moneymakers that we've done, but it is a lot more than what the wiki was first saying, which was around 60k for 20 kills an hour. But again, we did manage to get 50 kills this time around. And here's a look at the XP that we got, although I do believe that it might be a little off in the strength and hit points department, because those have more XP than the attack and defense for some reason, even though I was on a shared combat style. I might have killed something before making this video, so it might be more accurate to go by the attack and defense numbers. And you can also see that we got a nice bit of prayer XP from the dragon bones that we buried. I just want to say thanks for checking out the video, and if you did enjoy it, please consider giving it a thumbs up and possibly a subscription. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next episode.